Greetings, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Not Funny Guys Presents Go Team Venture. We're cruising right along here into Season 7, and as I've said before, bittersweet, but we finally come to a bit of a conclusion to the hangover we got in the last episode from episodes 1 and 2. We have arrived at Episode 3, Arrears in Science, originally aired August 19th, 2018, written by Jackson Public. Now, the man in the blue morpho costume is finally to be revealed to be Vendetta. And the shaking of the tower that caused the Venture logo to fall across the entrance, sealing everyone inside. This is Jonas Venture inside the problem machine. Vendetta plugs himself up into this, and various parties recount the story of the blue morpho through a bunch of little flashbacks. Blue morpho basically obeyed Jonas's requests because he was being blackmailed for the sex tape we saw previously that he'd recorded without his knowing. And Jonas even had his wife swing by my compound when they were having trouble conceiving. Implications there, of course. When she became pregnant, Jonas took Kano as payment. Blue morpho died in a plane crash. Jonas took his remains and used him to make the cyborg Venturion. But Kano was forced to kill the Centurion when he tried to then strangle Rusty later, and he got thrown in the trash and all that fun stuff. And this is where Dr. Z comes across it. He reprograms him in evil Vendetta, later who was taken by the Red Death as part of the hijack mission the night on Gargantua 1, the movie night, where Jonas caught him trying to broadcast the sex tape in order to get back at Jonas. Jonas told Vendetta that he was the blue morpho, prompting Vendetta to open the bay doors, killing Jonas. After Brock beat him up in the Don Hell's Club, back, which I think was supposed to be like 4 months earlier, he had basically started having memory fragments. He walked all the way to Newark to his old house, now where the monarch is living. He found his old costume. He was seeking out Jonas Venture. Back in the present, the anxious man has a stroke, and Pete uses the shrink ray gun to get the old Team Venture out to get him to the hospital. And they also shrink a roach and then re-enlarge a roach. That's pretty funny too. He then follows commands of Dr. Orpheus. The monarch breaks in, trying to kill Blue Morpho to clear his name. His presence distracts Blue Morpho, and he addresses him as Malcolm. We then learned his real name, prompting Jonas to seize him by the light's tentacles. Blue Morpho engages his thrusters, and they fly around before falling back in and crushing each other, both getting killed in the process. The monarch addresses the Blue Morpho as Daddy and claims that he killed both men in order to impress the guild when they arrive. Post-credits, we find ourselves at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Team Venture discussing the health of the Action Man. He was now in a coma, which apparently Colonel Gentleman said it's not the first one he's had. He'll pull through. A balloon of a young Rusty gets loose and causes havoc. Now, deconstructing this episode, we finally get some sort of closure to everything we've been having set up in episode 1 and 2. And this one very much plays on kind of solving or tying up a lot of things that we sort of were implied to us back in season 1, episode 2, Careers in Science. Of course, we're tying back to that. The building is being evacuated when we come across it. The security stuff is kicking in. Rusty, the old Team Venture, and Dr. O are trapped inside the building while everybody else is kind of trapped on the outside. The guild had been in pursuit of Blue Morpho, so they show up. Brock tries to call Hunter for backup, but he's cleaning up the situation over at Dummy Corp, which was Red Death and Dr. and Mrs. the Monarch. Blue Morpho has gotten into the building, though. We find out he's Vendetta. He cuts back to the assault on Vendetta back at the Don Hell's Club and how he got beat up. We just talked about that. Vendetta's memory has been joggled now. So 4 months later, he walked all the way to his home in Newark, took to the cave, all that stuff. He's now interfacing with the problem, and he and Jonas meet in kind of like a simulated world. Jonas has that streetlight song from the Crusaders stuck in his head, recounts becoming aware back in Careers in Science and how nobody seemed to understand what he was trying to tell them because nobody teaches Morse code. And he gets visions of him seeing Manstrong and the boys and all that. Jonas apparently, JJ, when he recovered it and brought it back to the tower. He has now plugged himself into the tower. Rusty wants answers from Old Team Venture about this, and they recount how in 1976, when Jonas revived Blue Morpho after he was killed in the crash as Venturian, the whole team was kind of disgusted by it. He later then attacked Rusty, and Kano was forced to sort of quote-unquote kill him, and this is when he took his vow of silence, his real reasoning. Back outside, Dean brings up Hank up to speed on hatred and the Order with them. There's a whole discussion about whether he has dissociative identity disorder because of his Enrico Matase stuff, and Dean is pretty sure he really just has ADHD. The Guild thinks that Dr. Z built Vendetta. They all go to a diner and have this long discussion. Brock is with them because he has no backup. He comes clean about how he found him in the garbage at the West Venture compound. He never got to use him because he had been busted on a drug rap in Singapore, but he had come to realize that Vendetta was the Blue Morpho. Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade issues are being set up, and this is causing chaos for hatred on the side. The Guild and Brock are at this diner working things out. Hank and Dean have that discussion. Blue Morpho and Jonas, we witness how Jonas used the tape that they had made them with girls as sort of like leverage to get him to do dirty work, and even making the whole thing that he got. Basically, that Monarch is Rusty's half-brother. There's a lot of implications of that, which I'm pretty sure we'll find out. Stay tuned. Of course, at the diner, Red Death retells about how he and a group in the 1980s went to Gargantua 1. Vendetta was with them. They got onto the station. That was the movie night with Sharky's machine. The night Jonas Sr. died. Sovereign apparently covered it all up instead of admitting it was Vendetta in them. He chewed them out, and he covered it up by pretending to be Sphinx and telling this to OSI and triggering the Pyramid Wars, which kind of rocks Brock's worldview a little bit because that's how he had gotten involved in OSI. It kind of undermines him a little bit. Not too bad. We find out that, Red Death suspects that Vendetta opened the hangar. Old Team Venture arrived late. They found frozen Jonas. They got him inside, put him in the problem machine. Before they did, they dropped his frozen body. That's why there's only the head. Action Man, like we said, had a stroke. Jonas uses Vendetta's antenna to broadcast to Rusty, try and get him. He's basically trying to double cross him. Vendetta then looks and sees the Monarch who's arrived, and we realize Monarch's full name is Malcolm Fitzcarraldo, I think is how you're saying. This is a clue. Blue Morpho and Jonas end up fighting. Jonas, real bastard. It's finally revealed just how much of an a-hole he really was. Everybody idolizes him, but he's just an a-hole. They fly over the city, they crash back in, where they both are killed, and the Monarch, of course, takes credit for this. Fun thing. So a lot of interesting tie-ins here in this episode that I found this one to be one of my most enjoyable ones to watch, just because it brings together so many threads from the past, but it's a lot of fun. Great episode. Finally get a reveal. Well, hope the Monarch will be moving up in the world, as we'll find out coming soon. But remember, like, subscribe, follow along, and I'll see you in the next episode. And we're back. And here we are, episode 4, The High Cost of Loathing, originally aired August 26, 2018, also written by Jackson Public. After Rusty sustains severe injuries after jumping out of a window while demonstrating his new technology, which is stolen technology, Hank uses him being gone as an excuse to rent out his room to a German couple, like backpackers. With his relationship with Serena strained because he's off at college and is taking up all her time, he tries to admit his insecurities to Rusty when he's under drugs, only to realize that he is, like we said, high on morphine. Hatred and Brock end up killing the German couple later in a sort of mishap, assuming them to be intruders. The Monarch is assessed by the council to only be a level 5 out of 10. Dr. and Mrs. the Monarch advises him to get back into arching legitimately for a while, when he also finds out that his bank account is overdrawn, his trust fund. Dean moves into college campus living, learns that Rusty has enrolled him in multiple science classes against his will. He talks to his superhero professor advisor, Dr. Van Helping. Dean moves, who encourages him to stay at least in a botany class. And so he does. Turns out he's in there with Serena. The Monarch crashes the class before the professor and is his new arch. Our new arch is Von Helping. They have a bit of a showdown where what Von Helping really looks like underneath his sort of facade skin is revealed. And the Monarch, and so Dean is fed up with it. He calls a halt to the whole thing, gives the Monarch a $1 million check and tells him to get out of there. He signs some forms. Serena thanks him, gives him a kiss, and Dean realizes that he has an attraction for her. Of course, post-credits find the Monarch celebrated as the guild's top earner of the month and is moved up a level to level 6. So we have a weird fantasy open in this one where the Monarch has apparently supercharged himself into a great adversary, all to raid a venture ship that secretly has palm gel for his eyebrows. It's very weird. We then come back to the real world where he's getting evaluated by Dr. Z, and he's found to only be a level 5 despite all his attempts to put things on a facade to make him get a higher rank. Hank takes over Dean's room since he's moving on the college campus. Dean's roommate is actually Jared, the Brown Widow, and only Brock is there to help him out because the pirate captain and the board are chewing out Rusty when about their falling stock in the company when he jumps out the window to try to show off his new hover device as a mode of personal transportation, which apparently seems to be a thing he's constantly obsessed with. It's just really JJ's belt. And then he passes out from all the bleeding because as he jumped through the window, he almost cut his femoral artery and he slashes himself up massively. This is, of course, we cut to the Monarch learning about his trust fund owing overdrafted. He then attempts to rob the bank and is stopped by the Brown Widow. Professor Tompkins, who is very literally just a knockoff Flash Thompson from the Spider-Man universe, takes over the philosophy class, formerly headed by Think Tank, who's in the hospital, a room he's now sharing with Rusty, in fact. Like I said, Serena and Dean run into each other, want to get coffee, and she asks him, it doesn't make you crazy like it does Hank, does it? Fun bit about Hank's issues with coffee. Monarch upset about his ranking, of course. Dr. Mrs. Monarch, like we said, tells him to get out there. He has a new arch, Dr. Van Helping. Dean is being advised by Van Helping. He wants to help Dean stay in science. Talks about his own relationship with his father, because his father apparently was a supervillain named Dr. Von Hellfire. Hank takes to turning the room into an Airbnb, which will have disastrous consequences later. Tries to surprise Serena, but she's busy with classes. Monarch obsessed over his now distressed eyebrows that are all messed up. 20 Women makes a reference to 1984's Dune and Stephen Dorff's character Peter de Vries. Love that reference. Monarch, of course, while prepping for the mission, he realizes that Von Helping is Von Hellfire's son. When he sees a picture of him, 21 thinks he looks like Paul Atreides, also from the 1984 Dune, McLaughlin, playing him there. Dean and Serena are in Von Helping's class when the Monarch crashes in. Hatred appears also, by the way, to be sleeping under his desk when he and Brock team up to basically take out the backpackers, unfortunately. Stars and Garters is found to be serenading Think Tank when Hank stops by, and that's when he talks to the doped up Rusty. 21 and the Monarch end up hurting themselves while attacking Von Helping's, only to find out that underneath his sort of fake skin is this sort of molten rock hard body. He looks like Dr. Doom from the bad 2015 movie they did. A little bit. He's not that bad, though. Dean, of course, chews him out, gives him the check, tells him to go away. Von Helping signs some paperwork. Dean gets a kiss from Serena, and of course the Indians in his pants reappear, if you know the reference. And then, of course, Monarch has reached level 6. So, like and subscribe. Fun episode. We're now moving the story along. I love the 3-part opening. I'm glad we got to cover it the last episode, and now this episode we're covering the 3-parter. I love the Arrears and Science episode. I think it's probably one of my favorite ones we've talked about so far. But I do also love the High Cost of Loathing. We're moving the story along again, and when we meet again next episode, we'll be talking about episode 5, the Inmorata Consequence, and episode 6, the Bellicose Proxy. And then next week, we're going to finish this up. We are quickly moving to the end. So write, comment, like, share, all that good stuff for me here. If you would like to follow along with our podcast, links are in the description below as well. We are doing a little Saoirse Ronan run. We just finished recording and we'll be releasing on Monday our episode on Lady Bird, but we've also covered Little Women, and we covered Little Women first, and then we covered Hannah, and now we're covering Lady Bird as the end of ours, and then we're moving on to the Rambo franchise. So if you're interested in that, follow along. Subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube channel here. We'll be doing more TV stuff. In fact, I'll talk about more about this next week, about what we're going to gear up to do next. And then write us if you want to write us an email. That's notfunnyguys.offthereels@gmail.com. That's also information all below in the description. So until next time, stay safe and go Team Venture. Say not funny guys again.
Not funny guys again.
No, can you say not funny guys?